Hello travelers! So if you have a plan to visit China this year, next year or in the close future, those are 10 very important tips for you to know before traveling in China. Or if you've been in China before but still didn't know those tips, I would recommend you still go through these videos because it will benefit you for your next better experience in China. China has not been a really popular location, but it started to change since last year because Chinese government opened the border and facilitates the visa application process. So now majority of the countries all over the world could come to China to visit with visa free. Tip number 1, install Alipay before arriving in China. Honestly speaking, almost nobody in China nowadays carries cash in their pocket. It's not that cash is not allowed, it's just people prefer a more convenient method to pay when they are out. So people can pay via QR code, people can pay via face scannings, which is much more convenient because you just need to have a phone or you just need to have your face out. That's what happened with one of my friends when she travels to China. We went to Shanghai together and we were in a family mart. My friend wanted to pay her drinks via cash and therefore she gave 100 yuan to the cashier, and the cashier could not find any of the cash to exchange with her. So the cashier came to me to ask, hey, if he could pay me via Alipay account and I could pass my friend the cash. If you're traveling without Alipay account, you need to wait for the cashier to find the cash to exchange with you. You will waste a lot of the time while also it brings you a very unpleasant experience. So I would really recommend you to install Alipay before coming to China because Alipay and the convenient lifestyles is also part of Chinese culture. When you are traveling, you can fully understand how local people live and also experience people's daily life. That's really what's the meaning of the traveling, right? And meanwhile, Alipay registration process is actually really simple. You just need to download app from Apple Store or Google Play Store, and then you can click sign up in the app. Once you sign up, you can submit all your passport informations. Once it's verified by Alipay team, you're good to go, and it's probably not more than 30 minutes to set up the account. Believe me, it really worth the 30 minutes to set up the account because it brings you the huge convenience when you will be in China. Tips number 2, install at least 2 VPNs or turn on your data roaming before arriving in China. So as you may know, China blocks majority of the Western social medias, including WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and also all the Google related products. And therefore, if you would like to keep in touch with your friends and families, or if you would like to post some nice experience when you will be in China, I would recommend you to install at least 2 VPNs or turn on your local SIM card's data roaming. So firstly, regarding for VPN, I personally had a really bad experience with majority of the VPN which worked outside of the China but could not work inside of the China, including a lot of really famous and branded VPN platforms. But currently I'm using VPN, and a majority of my foreign friends, foreigners who live in China, also use VPN because it's really cheap and very stable. So it's really good. BTW, there is no sponsorship in these videos, so what I'm recommending is really what me and my foreign friend who used in China. Second method is you also will be able to access all the social medias via your own country SIM card. But this is a really pricey method, and therefore if you don't have any concern in terms of the cost, I definitely recommend this method. Tips number 3, using local navigation maps instead of Google Map. Yes, upon turning on the VPN, you can use Google Map to navigate in China. However, same as in Korea and in Japan, Google Map does not provide you the accurate public transportation route. The main reason behind is China does not fully rely on GPS. Instead, China has its own navigation system called Beidou. I personally use an application called A-Map, and that's a majority of the Chinese uses in China. It didn't have any of the English version before, but it recently just launched its English versions. I highly recommend you to use A-Map to give you the most accurate public transportation route while also local experience when you come to China. Number 4, use Red Note to search for any information when you will be in China. So what is Red Note? Red Note is looking like this, and it's a Chinese social media, kind of similar as Instagram. I would say 99.9% of the Chinese would use Red Note to search for the places to visit, restaurant to eat, and ticket to purchase, while also sometimes looking for the price for shoppings. And therefore, Red Note contains the most authentic and local information. At the same time, because Red Note is still a social media, so majority of people after they visiting the place, they will keep updating the information inside of the Red Note, and therefore the information inside of the Red Note is really up to date. That's the main reason that people likes to use Red Note. Tip number 5, avoid visiting China when it's Chinese public holiday, because this is what you will see all the time: human, 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 and humans. So Chinese people works really hard, and therefore when it's public holiday, people will go out to do outdoor activities and traveling with their families, benefiting from the populations. You will fully understand what is human pool in the real world. So if you are the person who dislike the crowd and who would like to enjoy the very calm and more chill traveling experience, I highly do not recommend you to come to China during Chinese public holiday. However, if you do enjoy the crowd and want to see how does it look like as an experience, then of course you are more than welcome to join for our festivals time. Tip number 6, pre-practice Chinese word before arriving in China. You may heard about it before but thought it was a joke, but let me tell you, it is a real thing. So in China, majority of the toilet, even though in a very rich regions, are all squat toilet. It's not because that China is underdeveloped, but because Chinese people has a really interesting definition about what's hygienic. Chinese people feel that sitting on a toilet that other people have said before is not clean. In other words, people don't want to touch other people's butts. Therefore, with squat toilet, people can avoid the indirect contact of their bums with other people's bums, and therefore people feel it's much more hygienic. Interesting, right? I know that it's not common in all the other regions in the world, but this is what we call cultural shock, isn't it? Tip number 7, using Trip.com to book accommodation in China instead of using Booking.com. So when I was looking for the places to stay in China, I found out that Trip.com has much more choices compared to Booking.com, because Trip.com is a Chinese local platform, and therefore more hotels in China knows Trip.com, while less hotels in China knows about Booking.com, and therefore not all the hotels in China would list themselves in Booking.com, but they would definitely list themselves in the Trip.com. I recommend Trip.com is not only because of that, but also Trip.com is a one-step solution provider. Trip.com provides you not only the accommodation, but also the train ticket selling, like for domestic trains in China. At the same time, you can also book the flight ticket as well, and also some sightseeing tickets directly, which is very, very convenient when you will be traveling in China. Tips number 8, don't forget to prepare a great translation app when you're in China. So English is actually not the main language in China. I can speak English because I've been in abroad for a long time. However, majority of the Chinese could not really speak English fluently, and therefore when you will be in China, you will have a difficulty to translate menus or ask vendors or asking for the translations without the translation app. I would recommend your translation app should have a function to scan and translate, but also to be able to record and translate for you at the same time. So it will fulfill your demand to translate some menus when you will be in the restaurant, but also it can help you to communicate with local Chinese people when you have any questions or when you don't know how to go to the destinations. Right, last 2 tips. Tip number 9, don't carry any of the opened alcohol to train stations. So it's actually not allowed to bring any of the opened alcohol to trains or even to some metro stations in China. There will be a strict security check before you entering into metro station, but also before you entering into the train station. And if you bring any of the opened alcohol, the staff in the train station would tell you for choosing between those 2 choices. First one, you can throw them away directly. Second one, if you will come back to the same station in the future, you can ask the staff to keep this alcohol for you, and you can come back to pick up when you will be back in the same locations. However, if your alcohol bottle is unopened, there won't be any issues to bring it inside of the train. Alright, last one. So there is no tip culture in China, and therefore please do not give any tips when you will be in the restaurant. I know that in Southeast Asian countries or any other places in Asia, probably you could still give the tips and there is a strong tips culture, but this does not exist in China. Honestly, it won't be irrespectful if you give them tips, but people just feel a little bit weird and why you give them money for free. If you really want to show your gratitude and you really want to say, this is so delicious food and thank you for the nice service, you can just tell them that 好吃,好吃. Well, that's all the tips that I want to share today. Do not forget to subscribe my channels, while also like my videos. So for people who don't know me, I'm Ting from China and I lived in abroad for last 10 years and just came back to China in November 2024. Opening these YouTube channels to share with you more about Chinese cultures, about the amazing experience when you will visit China, provide you some itinerary advice and give you all the necessary information to bring you a better experience when you will be in China. So subscribe and like my videos. Go travel to China with me together. See you next time!